The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Teflon Pan Man. I'm the Teflon Pan Man. Ain't nothing gonna stick on me.
Yes, hello everyone, and welcome to All You Can Eat. It's the podcast about deliciousness. And I'm your host, Rob Rosenthal, coming to you on a beautiful June evening, just about getting ready for summer. And tonight's show is all about Bali. Yep, way over there in Indonesia. In fact, I was over there a few weeks ago, and I did not know what to expect. I had only known what a lot of people hear about it. And I was really excited about it. The thing I have to say, though, is that the getting there is a long way from here. In fact, the longest non-stop flight in the world is the one that runs from Newark Airport over to Singapore. And then you're not quite there yet, right? You got to change over to another plane and take another 2 hours to get into Bali. So that's a long way to go. And I will confess that when I first got there, and I was staying in a lovely resort hotel in a lovely little town called Canggu, which is super up and coming. But I thought, you don't have to travel 20 hours to get to a great beach. And Canggu was nice. The resort was fantastic. Terrific place if you're a mobile digital nomad, as they would say. Probably one of the top-rated places in the world to go spend your life digitally. Food is great. Some of the best surfing in the world. It was fantastic. But I thought, you don't have to go 20 hours from here to get yourself to a fine beach. But I then made my way up to the mountains of Bali, in a town called Ubud, at a resort called the Shambala. And all I want to say is I'd go back. Now, the Shambala is their kind of signature resort. The Como group has probably, 15 hotels around the world. And they're, high-end, and they're dedicated to kind of a very, health-conscious lifestyle. So you're going to have super clean, delicious food and, all different kinds of spa activities. I should point out, by the way, in the interest of full disclosure, I paid my way over. I paid for my hotel. They were very nice, though. They threw in a nice breakfast here and there and a good massage. Not a good massage, perhaps one of the best massages I ever had in my life up at the Shambala. And what stands out to me about Bali at this point, having experienced, some of it, more of it, are a couple of things. First of all, taking a bike ride up in Ubud, and you literally ascend in a van, 5,000 feet. You end up at a place where you're having breakfast overlooking a volcano. It hasn't been active since 2000, but you're way up there. And then the next thing you know, you're getting on bikes, and I think we biked about 25 kilometers, essentially downhill. Literally did not pedal more than a couple of feet here and there. And we pedaled through rice paddies, rice fields, which were everywhere. It was really a spectacular experience. Just really special, fantastic, unlike anything I had ever seen. The food in Bali, by the way, you almost can't go anywhere to any kind of restaurant, any kind of village, any kind of town without seeing something that says, vegetarian friendly, gluten free. Everything over there is just kind of naturally healthy, and a lot of it's super delicious. But I confess that my favorite meal was at one of these little places. They call a warung, W-A-R-U-N-G. It's kind of like, I wouldn't call it a diner, but it's, it's that kind of place. It's more of a dive. It's kind of like low key. It's not meant to be fancy. It's not a tablecloth. But I went to one that had two specialties, one of which was a martini, and I mean a killer martini, and ribs, grilled ribs. Oh my goodness, had I been in Bali longer, I promise I would have been back there. The bike ride, the volcano, the rice patties, the martini and ribs, of course, and then really the Como Shambala. I can't say enough about how extraordinary it was to be staying in a forest. Man, surrounded by trees, monkeys running free, the sound of water in the background, just astronomically beautiful. And I really feel that I was in a place that was so special that I had kind of like almost an epiphany, almost a mystical kind of religious experience. Man, it was just fantastic up there. So on tonight's podcast, in fact, what I've done is I've actually interviewed three of the people from up at Como Shambala. You'll hear from Ram, who's the general manager there. You'll hear from Dewa, who's the executive chef, and then Sally, finally, who runs the kind of health, wellness, and nutrition program. So without further ado, let me tune you into them. The folks from the Como Shambala in Bali, and I will be back with you at the end. Okay, everyone, so here I am with Ram. Ram, how do you pronounce your last name again?
Last name is Hiralal.
Hiralal.
Yeah.
Ram Hiralal.
Yeah.
And Ram is the I like to say that you're the boss. I mean, you are the general manager here at Como Shambala. And I've already spoken about this a lot, but I mean, I'm in the middle of Bali. And so, first of all, thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to talk with you. And I think it's important for at least the audience from America to understand a little bit about Bali, because while we've heard of it, and the country certainly has, I mean, when I say the country, I mean, Indonesia. I mean, the island of Bali certainly has a very special kind of mystique. You know what I mean? We have an image of it.
Right.
But I would say, for the most part, Americans don't often, travel to this part of the world and don't really know so much about Bali. So let's start kind of on the broad, and then we'll get more to the kind of specific in terms of where we are, because this resort right here is spectacular. But before we talk about that, let's just talk about you, and let's talk literally about Bali. How long have you been in this country?
For this period, I have been only 1 year. But prior to that, I used to work in Bali for 3 years, and I moved on a posting to Thailand.
Right.
And because I love Bali so much, I've taken this posting again to be back in Bali.
Okay, now that's so good. That's a perfect lead-in for me. What is it that you love so much about Bali? Tell the people what makes Bali unique and special.
I think Bali is full of, culture. It's a very cultural country, and it's very spiritual. Now, I'm not sure, and especially in Ubud here. Now, Ubud used to, be named under Ubud, because it is a place where people come here for healing.
Right.
And that's where they get the name of Ubud.
Okay.
And so here you find a lot of, healing place, like, be it like the landscape, or it's also the traditional healing process. And that's how we incorporate everything in our hotel.
So what is it about Bali that makes it kind of, I think spiritual was the word you used, and
Yes.
I'm going to make this confession. I don't think that I knew what it meant to be at a place that was spiritual, and yet here's the other part of the story. Last night, in the middle of the night, I had what I felt was like a spiritual awakening, for lack of a better word. Like, I literally felt myself laughing and crying and listening to the running water outside. It was kind of like natural white noise. And I mean, I think we'll tell people eventually about this place, because this is amazing where I am sitting with you right here, right now. But what makes it, do you think, kind of a place, an island that has a spiritual power about it. What do you think it is? I don't know if that's a fair question, but I want to try to help elaborate a little bit on what makes it spiritual.
Yeah, I think Bali has always been known as the islands of God. Yeah.
Okay.
So you see a lot of temples around in Bali, and the Balinese people, they are very spiritual and they believe a lot of worship, and everything they do is all around the gods.
Right.
Yeah, so they do almost everything that you see, that there is a lot of ceremony. There's a lot of procession that they deal with God, and and everything they does is all to do with the God.
Right.
So you will see that people here, and is a very interesting thing that people, a lot of Balinese, whatever they're saving is save up,
Right.
is all going to doing ceremony,
Right.
praying and all.
Right.
And you find that in every home there is always a shrine.
Yes.
And whatever they do, like even in every morning when they get up, the first thing they do, when they cook something, the first offering is always for the God, to give them like a blessed day, whether it's in their personal life, whether it's for their day-to-day life, or even for their business, so that there is prosperity and all that.
Right.
And they end the day with also another offering,
Right.
to say thank you for the day, whatever they have achieved.
So the people are spiritual, and they believe, and I also have discovered in my short time here that the people are very nice.
Yes.
Like I don't. It's not that I'm surprised by it, but it's noticeable.
Yes.
That the Balinese people are very nice and kind of calm and happy. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I totally agree with you. And that's where you see sometimes when we do this estate walk, or we do the rice field walk, you will actually see all these farmers. They are not rich in dollars,
Right.
but they are rich in happiness.
Yes.
And they will be the one who's like smiling to you. They will be like offering you. They will be inviting you to their house.
Right.
And even though, to an extent, if that is the last meal, they rather offer it to the guests than themselves.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And and they are so humble in their own way, and all they do is like they're always ever ready to assist people, whether you're lost or you need any assistance. They're always there to assist you.
Yeah, beautiful. How kind of happy they are, and it's really noticeable. Now, the other thing, of course, that's noticeable is the physical kind of geology or geography. Now, I've been at the what we would call the shore or the beach. So I spent some time in Canggu, and now I'm up here in Ubud,
Yes.
I should say. And I'm in the I don't know, is it a forest, is it a jungle? I know that I'm in the mountains, and it's unbelievable. But where are we now, kind of physically in the geography and geology of Bali? Where are we sitting?
Okay, so we are in the district of Gianyar. We are in Ubud area, but the district is called Begawan Giri. So we are in the Begawan Giri area, and it's about 20 minutes, right down to the central of Ubud. So, and this is an area which is much elevated. So you find the climate here a little bit more cooler, and because we are in this sort of jungle, you see that we are 9 hectares of landscape, which is very rich, very dense, and it blend very well into the estate with our accommodation.
Yes.
And that gives a lot of privacy and the sense of serenity and very calm.
Yeah, there's something about it that I find still hard to describe, but it's green, and it's lush, and it's filled with trees, and you're in the mountains, and I think that there's something even spiritual about that. And then on top of that, there's a river that's running here, and you can, and the sound of the river at night is like, people where I come from pay to have white noise.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Here it's nature basically creating a sound effect, and it's very soothing. and it's really special. I think there's something, even though I come from kind of a coast,
Yeah.
and so I'm very I love the beach. There's something really super serene, is your word.
Yeah.
You said serene. There's something really serene about where we are.
Yeah.
Now, we should probably tell people that Como, as a hotel operation, is also, I think, unique in terms of how it was founded. What's the story behind Como?
Yeah, I think the Como is how we get the name Como is, of course, is a mother and daughter organization. It's Christina Ong, our founder, and the daughter is Melissa Ong. That's how we got the Como. Now, Como was built with the with the interest of our ownership, who is who's living in the wellness lifestyle. She practiced lifestyle, the wellness lifestyle, and she's all about healthy well-being. So I think she put this into this place where she found this is such a unique property.
Yes.
That she could incorporate all her belief into this and make it into a wellness retreat.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So here what we do is, we encourage people who really needs to, get out in their busy life,
Right.
to come here and totally relax. And with the, ambience and the whole setting of this place will make people very easily, to settle in and relax and don't feel guilty about it,
I think that is what I discovered, and I don't, for the type of people that that travel, and that travel to a place like this, generally they have what I would call the wherewithal, the resources.
Yes.
They have the disposable income to go on kind of elegant. Even spa type
Yeah.
vacations, but they're the last people that understand how to relax,
Yes.
and turn off
Sure.
the phone. But I'm going to tell you this: if I'm guilty, and I don't know if I am, but if I'm guilty of being kind of like that type of person, I discovered here in a very short time that I can relax. You know what I mean? I can't. It's hard for me to describe. I've been going to spas since the early 1980s.
Yeah.
So I've been to them, but I've not been to any place like this, and I have not been to any place like Bali. And I'll also tell you something, just because you are the general manager here, that I did have a massage yesterday. And again, I guess I started having massages probably let's say 40 years.
Oh, okay.
This massage that I had yesterday was easily one of the best that I ever had.
Oh, thank you.
I can't even begin to tell you, and I don't know that it's interesting to people or not. I spent some time in considerable pain, and yet it's a pleasurable pain. It's the kind of pain that I was hoping for. Like we shook hands. I shook hands with him, and I go, "Oh, good." And he said, "What?" And I said, "Well, that's a very strong handshake." So I felt good. Well, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And as I told you, I felt like somewhere last night, I started getting into feeling a deep sense of kind of gratitude, that I'm here, and it was really a great experience. So tell the people, if there's anything else that you want to describe here about this, because I feel like I don't know how many Como properties are there. Are there 15 or 20?
Yeah, we have 15 properties
Okay,
around
great.
the world.
Around the world.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and this one feels to me like it's almost
This is the flagship.
The flagship.
Yeah,
That's
this
the
is
word.
the flagship of the property. We
Right.
started, and like I say, whatever we do here, especially in the spa world, or we call it the Como Shambala, it
Right.
is, it becomes a halo effect
Right.
to all our other properties.
Right.
Yeah.
And that also includes not only kind of that includes not only kind of the activity
Correct.
and the scene,
Yes.
but it also includes the cuisine.
Correct.
Well, talk about that a little bit. What
Yeah.
about the food? Because I'm a food guy.
Yes. So you see, Como is all about, healthy lifestyle. That include, one of our pillar is the cuisine. So cuisine here, what we concentrate is healthy food.
Right.
Now, healthy food, don't get us wrong, people always think healthy food is not,
Right.
nice taste and all
Right.
that. But here you'll be surprisingly,
Right.
yeah, even though it's healthy, it is very light and it's very easily, and you don't feel, even though you eat a lot, you don't
Right.
feel that you're bloated up and all that.
And
Yeah.
and it's delicious. I mean,
Yes.
the point
Yes.
is that it's really delicious, and I think that
With flavor.
it's beautiful flavor, and I think that's because one of the advantages that you have here is I would say that most everything that you eat or that I've seen in
Yeah.
Bali is local. I mean, this is
Correct.
this is
Yeah.
like eat local
Mhm.
all the time. Whether that means the fruits, which are some of them are quite unique,
Yes.
mangosteen, dragon
Dragon
fruit,
fruit.
all these are unbelievably great, and certainly the vegetables and the greens. Last
Yes.
night I had a wok seared kale.
Yeah.
And obviously, some of the fish and the seafood. There's chicken. Obviously, there's going to be pork.
Yeah.
And the portions are nicely sized. And the flavors are big because you use here garlic and you use shallots and you use
Lemongrass,
peppers and
yeah.
you use some lemongrass. And so there's something really bold about the taste, but at the same time you come away from it feeling not heaviness,
Heavy,
not fullness.
Yeah, and you see, we use a lot of this green, which is locally sourced, and also at the same time, all those spices, the herbs, and all that
Right.
are also grown in our own garden.
Yeah.
So it is manicured and all that by our own landscape, our gardeners.
Right.
So that every day it is freshly picked up, for all our garnishing, for all our salad.
Yeah.
So you see that it's very natural, very fresh, and it's, tastefully done.
Yeah, and I hope that people can hear, because normally we would do this conversation in the studio. I hope people can hear that there are birds chirping in the
Yes.
background, and there are frogs making some whatever noise the frog makes, and there's a beautiful breeze, because the weather here also is part of the story. I mean, I think, obviously we're right in the Indian Ocean, so it's and we're close to the equator, so. It's warm all the time. I mean,
Correct.
somebody said
Yep.
to me along the way, it never gets cool in
Bali.
in Bali, in Indonesia. You know what I mean? But on the other hand, it's cooler here in the mountains,
Yes,
and
it's
there's
much
this
cooler.
lovely breeze, so it feels very good to be here. Now, what else do you think, Ram, that we should say? You have a beautiful place here. Bali is extraordinary. I guess the last thing we tell people is almost in a sense why, in general, it's worth the trip, because if you're coming from my side of the world, I can see that there are many people that will come to Bali from Australia and obviously from China and Kuala Lumpur and from Singapore. Like
Yes.
these seem to me relatively easy, but coming from over where I come from, what if people haven't been here? What do we tell them to make it kind of to make them at least look into the possibility? What would you say?
Yeah. It's surprising you asked me the question. Yes, even though Bali is very accessible to countries like Malaysia, Singapore, or Southeast Asia, but our number one market is still the American.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think when people are not familiar, when they come here, like we have a lot of guests who are not sure, but the minute they have come and stayed with us and experienced the whole journey,
Right.
where we have the wellness journey, they tend to return.
Right.
And we have about 22% of our guests are
Right.
all return guests.
Right. Very nice.
Now, here, as you know, that the estate, we emphasize a lot of wellness.
Right.
So whether it's the cuisine, whether it's the activities or the accommodation.
Right.
This is where we take people into a journey, and we sort of entice them, or we guide them into our well-being, to a healthy life where they can continue. So we inspire people that they can continue. It's not like forcing people, but it's more of inspiring people that after this vacation, you can continue to have that journey. And you'll be surprised. I have, so many guests who tell me, Ram, normally, we need a vacation after a vacation.
Right, exactly.
But from here,
Right.
they don't need a vacation anymore, but they say, can we stay longer?
Right.
They wish they have extended their stay,
Right.
So that's a testament of, whatever we are doing, we are on the right track,
Yeah.
to bring people over and get a full healing, a holistic healing experience.
I think that's beautifully said, and I agree with you. We used to. I did some work in the past for a company in the travel business, and we came up with a line, an advertising line, and it was, let's put it this way, it was a vacation that you could take home, and I feel like that's what you're saying about here. This is a vacation that you can take home, and that's what I feel in my short time here. I think my only regret is that I don't get to stay, longer, because I feel like once you're here, you kind of don't want to. Like, I didn't even want to leave today to go on this beautiful bike ride because I haven't seen the grounds. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like that, I should probably, walk around the grounds and go see the picnic area and all that kind of stuff. So this is great. All right. Well,
so that's where, we always tell one location that you should not miss is the spring pool.
Yes.
Down in our property, we have a spring water.
Right.
And it is believed by this area that is a holy water.
Right.
Where a lot of priests and a lot of these monkus, they actually come to do their blessing, and also, they do a lot of ceremony. So all our waters come from the spring pool, so it's very natural, to the estate. And it's such an amazing spot that one should not miss it.
Well, not only the spring pool, but this spot here that I'm sitting in with you is amazing. This is this is stunning. I mean, I don't use this kind of terminology all that much, but you walk in here and it's breathtaking. Not only the surrounding, the blue sky and the green trees and the mountains, but all the thought that was put into building these these buildings and the accommodations and the wood and the pool. Really stunning. Really, congratulations. It's just it's fantastic, and I'm thrilled to be here. And moreover, thank you for your time and for helping explain what's going on.
You're always welcome.
Thank you
we
so
hope
much.
to see you back again for
trust
a
me.
longer stay.
I hope. Trust me. I hope to be back for a longer stay. Okay, everybody. Now we're going to get right back to the subject of food here in Bali. I am at the Shambala with the. I'm going to assume, Dua, that you are the executive chef. Am I right?
Yes,
Okay. And Dua, what's your last name? Your last name, Dua what? Not that it matters. Yeah. What's your other name?
Diwa W-I-J-A-Y.
Okay, not just out of curiosity. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll just Dua is fine for me. I just was curious. Hey, so Dua, where are you from? Are you from?
I'm originally from Gianyar Regency, which is here only. But I mostly growing up outside abroad. So I was working in Bhutan.
Okay.
I working in Caribbean, and then I working on the ship also. So I most of the time I work abroad. I mean,
you have your experience is international. But did you start here on the island? Yeah. Okay.
I start on the cooking school for 2 years, and then I start on to fulfill my dream. Then after that, after 20 years old, I was moving to Caribbean. I was working in Miami.
Wow.
Working for almost 4 years, working on the ship Carnival Cruise Line, and then I was working there for almost 4 years, and then I do my starting my culinary journey, become like a cold kitchen, hot kitchen, and then I start learning a lot of things, and then after that I was moving to the ship again to belong to this company.
Now, when you grow up here, what are you eating when you're growing up? What is the food like growing up? What's the food like here if you're just growing up here? Forget the resort for a minute. We'll come to that. But like, what do you eat here? So I know obviously there's a lot of rice. So.
A lot of rice, and then mostly Balinese people eating pig or pork. Mostly the main meat they supply they used to be, and then also a lot of vegetable.
Right.
Of course, organic but uncertified.
Right.
Of course, but they mostly grow like pig and then some of the fish that we source from the market, mostly we all of that we always eat
Right.
in Bali.
And what are the vegetables? Like, what are the common vegetables?
Funtif, we have long bean.
Wait, long beans. Okay,
Yeah.
what was the first one?
The funtif.
Okay.
The one like the curly one.
What?
Yeah.
What is that like? Is that like
Wild? They grow wild here, like what we call.
It looks like fiddlehead fern.
Yeah, fiddlehead fern.
Oh wow, that's what. Okay.
Yeah, fiddlehead.
Oh, it's unbelievable. That was a good guess. Okay, so you have your ferns, you have the long beans, which are for us like green beans or string beans. What else
and
do
then
you
have a wing bean.
Right.
And then some of the thing is a lot of time we have the coconut.
Right.
Even a lot of thing from coconut we can eat, like inside one, the soft one can use for vegetable also.
Right.
Yeah.
And also tell me about kind of the Indonesian spice palette. What are you using to flavor foods? What's the base here?
The base here mostly like cumin seed,
Right.
coriander,
Right.
and then some of the basic thing mostly called the peppers.
Right.
Peppers that the white pepper mostly we got it here. Mostly the three things that we always use for the positioning the, and then of course for the meat we adding some star anise or like the cinnamon that we.
Right.
We
You
put
use
the spice.
cinnamon in the savory
yeah.
cooking, right?
Yeah.
And I'm seeing a lot of garlic and shallot.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And so and obviously rice is a big part. I mean,
Yeah.
I spent today biking around. I did 25 kilometers
Yeah, that's
of
nice.
biking, and 20 of it
Yeah,
was rice.
yeah.
And it seems to me that everybody seems to kind of almost in their yard have almost like self the farming. I mean,
Yeah.
like you can, like people, it seems to me, are growing a lot of
Yeah.
what it is they're eating on their own. Yeah.
Yeah. Mostly like nowadays people are start looking for the wellness
Right,
thing.
right.
So they try to substitute the white rice to be like with the red rice.
Right.
They start growing now. The red rice is very important for it's good for digestion, and then also it's better than white rice.
One of the things that I noticed, Dua, is that everywhere you go here, because all of the food is basically locally sourced, just naturally.
Yeah.
And also because it's what do I want to say? It's so many people are talking about like it's a beautiful cuisine to feed people who are vegan.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go, I see signs that say vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free. I'm seeing a lot of vegetables, obviously. I'm seeing a lot of soy. I see some tempeh, which is not quite so common where where I come from. But it's kind of a great place to come if you want to eat full flavored food that is still what I call clean. It's nutritious and it tastes good. Is that right?
Yeah. This is mostly the unique thing from our country here. This is Bali, especially is they're using soybean to flavor everything.
Right.
Like soybean can use for tofu,
right?
Or they can use for tempeh. So they call tempeh. So totally the same ingredient, but they made a different style.
Right.
So the tempeh and tofu is adding to the vegan or the option for them to choose to get extra dishes for
right.
them.
Yeah, very good. And then, so what are some of the? Well, wait a second. Before I ask you what what's cooking here at the restaurant. You mentioned that you spent some time on the cruise. You did that, and what other countries did you say that you cooked in?
I went to Miami. I went to a lot of Caribbean island.
Right.
And then after that, I went to a lot of Australia or anything to walk with the ship, also the small ship. And after that, I went to Bali again for a couple of years, and then I come back again to Bhutan. I came back to Bhutan. Bhutan is like 3 hours from Bangkok.
Right.
So it is below the mountain,
right.
Himalayan mountain. So,
right.
So this is a good experience for me. I mean,
yeah, all good experience.
Yeah.
Well, what did you eat stone crabs in Miami?
Yeah, a lot of things. Yeah, stone crepe and also very nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good, right?
Yeah.
And then what about Australia? What what were you eating? Like, what was exciting for you to eat personally
A
in
lot of
Australia?
like when I first started and people are there, like for breakfast they always have Vegemite and butter. This is very interesting.
They had
like
what was it?
Vegemite and butter.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my God,
Okay.
Vegemite and butter. Yeah.
I started learning what's it or the smell is not really pleasant.
Right, right.
But slowly we enjoying that, and then but like a lot of fresh fish. Like because they are really
Sure.
down under.
Right.
The sea is very down under, so a lot of quality fish that
A
we
lot
can
of
get
seafood.
here.
A lot of seafood.
Everything. And then we cruising from Darwin, Cairns, and then we go to like to New Zealand,
Right.
until the Cairns, Bluff to sub Antarctic island. So we like to see the penguin and everything. Like
Right.
a lot of journey. The journey is really
Right. Oh, that's an
Yeah.
interesting life. Okay, now let's. By the way, one of the things you mentioned that Vegemite doesn't smell good, but you know what else doesn't smell good? Durian. Durian does not smell good. Like, can you
Durian
tell
smell good,
people?
but
Well,
the-
tell people what about durian, the fruit. Like, what is the like? I want to try it. I haven't. I'm here, and I've been trying strange things everywhere I
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, today I drank your tea that came from the luwak
Yeah,
animal.
yeah.
And I think people should understand that we're talking about tea that is made when animals called luwaks eat coffee beans,
Yes.
and they digest them and they defecate them. They defecate, and then the coffee beans at that point seem to have some very special.
Special
Characteristics,
flavor,
some very
yeah.
special flavor. I drank a whole cup of that tea that coffee today, and so I've been having. And then I recently while I was over in Mexico, and I ended up eating, some what do you call crickets?
Oh, crickets.
Yeah, and then I had some worm salt. So I've been going on to kind of like experimental things. Now, here in this country, I feel like I should try some durian.
Yeah, I will
Tell
can
people
try the durian.
what it is and like what the taste and smell characteristics are.
The durian, of course, in Bali is seasonal. Mostly they grow yearly, like 2 times a year.
Uh-huh.
And then the smell is really pungent, and then the smell very strong. And if people not get used to it, they will become like vomiting something.
Oh, it's that disgusting,
yeah,
right? It's
they're
that
very
disgusting.
disgusting.
But I
But
mean,
if-
would I be disgusted, or would I like it? Like, it doesn't taste
think-
like vomit. It only smells like vomit.
The smell is not really good, but when you try,
Right.
it's just a subtle flavor. We can use for ice cream also everything, but the flavor is, I think, is like it's nice flavor.
Yeah.
for me.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. I trust you.
Yeah.
And the texture, I suppose, is what, like
Very
custard,
creamy,
like custard.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
custard apple.
Yeah.
Mostly like custard apple. We can,
Right. Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll try. Oh, and I learned also, because you have this place is just loaded with fruits and vegetables, including, by the way, coconut. So I was asking somebody, because I like a good cocktail. I
Yeah.
said, what kind of alcohol do you make here? And I heard you make what, arak?
We can do arak or tuak, called different. The arak is the strongest version of tuak.
Right.
Tuak is the more
And
light
so
one.
arak is what? It's an alcohol. It's a distilled
Yeah.
spirit made from coconut. Yes.
Yeah, with
Okay.
coconut. They usually distill them until the flavor really strong,
Right.
and mostly like vodka.
Right.
But a bit harsh, little bit the strong flavor.
Right.
So they make growing like in Bali they're famous for arakatak.
Right.
Arakatak, yeah.
Arakatak?
Yeah.
Oh, rakatak.
That's
All right, listen to me. I just feel like, because now I know the chef in person, I
Yeah.
should try some arak while I'm
Yeah,
there. You know
yeah.
what I mean? I think. So let's talk just about. Just tell people what some of the specialty. What some of your specialties here are. What are you making here?
Mostly here we have selection of raw food, mostly raw. We try to get raw. Some we try to adopt some Indonesian or Balinese cooking, which
Right.
is a bit raw, like gado-gado. Mostly gado-gado, for example, like the vegetable salad.
Yeah.
Mostly we serve cook. Now here we serve raw. Like we have 2 different selections.
Right.
So if people asking for the raw food, they
Right.
will
You
get
have
them,
raw
yeah.
food. So you have raw food. You
Yeah.
have vegan food. You have
Yeah.
vegetarian. What are
Yeah.
some of the other specialties?
Ayurvedic also, we can do Ayurvedic people on
Ayurvedic.
yeah,
Okay, fine.
Ayurvedic menu people will come here, and also we have 2 restaurants here. which is downstairs is healthy Indonesian.
Indonesian,
which
right?
is mostly we try to do less oil, less a lot of
All
things.
clean cooking.
Yeah, all clean cooking, and then also upstairs here is more to Western
Sure,
Mediterranean,
Western
and then,
cuisine.
yeah, and all of them we try to do it less butter, like
Yes.
we try to do as clean as possible.
Yep.
And then also we make we cater the guest request. Mostly the menu will come from the nutritionist, and then they will send us the menu.
The
And
menu,
then
right?
what the guest restriction, and then everything gluten free, or
Oh, okay.
like.
So you adjust
Then-
kind
then-
of the menu according to what an individual's desire is.
Yeah.
Well, I had the shrimp last night. They were delicious. I had the corn
Nice,
soup
yeah.
yesterday. It was excellent. And I know you didn't use any cream or
Yeah.
butter in that. Yeah, the food is delightful.
Yeah.
The resort is sensational. I really can't recommend it highly enough.
Yeah.
And I know that it takes a long time
Thank
to come here from where I am.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of place that you could easily spend. I wish that I had more time to spend here. All right, Dua, this is good. I
Yeah.
thank you for spending the
Thank you
time
very
and
much.
talking about the food. And
Yeah.
actually, more important than talking about it is preparing it.
Yeah.
And I feel like now that I know the chef, it won't be long before I get to try some arak.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm going to have an
Very
arak
nice.
attack. You know what I mean? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is our friend Dua, who's the executive chef over here at the Como Shambala. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, it's I'm back here at the Como Shambala in Bali, and I've talked about how kind of incredible the place is in terms of natural beauty and surrounded by green and mountain and the constant running of a river. Which there you can actually now see it. I'm actually sitting in a place where I'm overlooking just a beautiful landscape. And I am sitting here with Sally Halstead, who is the wellness manager of the Como Shambala, which is not just any old Como. In fact, they call this place the what's the word that you use in the hotel, in your business when you have like the gold standard of all your operations? It's called the what?
The flagship.
The flagship. Thank you very much, Sally. Already we're doing our thing. So first of all, tell people who don't know and who are not familiar. Tell them a little bit about kind of the background to Como and specifically to the Shambala here in Bali.
Okay. Well, the property was built originally approximately 20 years ago by a British gentleman named Mr. Bradley Gardner and his wife, Debbie. And they came to Bali and they fell in love with this area, which is totally understandable if you see it, because it's really a special and unique property and piece of land. Actually, the land that the property is built on is between two rivers, which in Balinese terms is extremely auspicious. It's called a champuhan, and the Balinese believe that the energy of that area of land is particularly positive. So they also felt the vibe of the land, and they decided to buy it and build a property which they intended originally to become a commune. And they wanted to have different residences where people would take a residence and they would retire here and enjoy the land. That plan changed a little bit in 2004. They decided to sell the property and convert it over into a hotel. And that was when Mrs. Christina Ong, the owner of Como, took the property. She loved the land as well and the energy, and she decided it was perfectly supportive to become a wellness retreat, which was something she'd always wanted to do. So she converted the property over. She added some extra villas, 5 modern build villas, and she added some wellness facilities as well to support the property. So she added a yoga ballet, a 9 treatment room spa area, a Pilates studio, and some consulting offices for experts.
Your accent suggests that you are from somewhere in England, but
Yep.
You've been here in Bali, I'm going to say, 16 years? Did I hear that
15
right?
years,
15 years. And
Mhm.
tell people, before we get specifically into the property here, tell folks about Bali. What makes Bali kind of super special? What made you come here and spend the last 15 years here?
Thank you. Yes, I am from England. I'm from the northwest of England. I'm from just outside of Manchester in the Pennine area, in the countryside, which is a beautiful area of its own, actually. But when I first came to Bali, I was just basically blown away. Bali is really a tremendous place. I think it still retains a lot of its magic, even from 15 years ago. And what I think makes it special is partially, at least, the land itself, the environment, but it's also the devotion of the people to their spirituality. So what I mean by that is that, every day that you're here, you will not a day goes by where you don't see a person either, engaging some way with their own spirituality. So praying or in a ceremony or making an offering and I think it's that dedicated devotion to spirituality that just really gives a certain air to Bali.
I think based on my own experience, and again, I'm only here for a short time, but I experienced it myself, and I'm confessing that when I used to hear the words spiritual awakening, I wasn't exactly sure what it meant, and I've been around long enough to have seen and heard a lot of things. But the other night here, my first night here at this particular resort, I found myself having what I thought was a spiritual reawakening. And I don't know why, and I don't think that I could attribute it to the usual, alcohol. But just being here in this kind of very special place had me feeling kind of emotions that I hadn't felt.
Yeah.
I felt a little bit like laughing. I felt a little bit like crying. I felt like exploring kind of a part of me. And this is very strange for me. It's not that I'm not conscious or sensitive of my own kind of path, but I felt some kind of magic here, which is a word also that you used. And I'm not even sure why I'm laying that all out, because it should lead to a question. But I think that's what it is that I wanted you to kind of comment on, if you can. I don't even know yet what the question is, but there's something here in kind of the air, and kind of the surrounding, and kind of the sound of running water, and also that intensely deep tissue massage that I had. Tell people what they can kind of expect when they come to the Shambala in Bali.
Well, first of all, I would say that, that's actually not such an uncommon reaction to being here. A lot of people often go through similar things, especially when they arrive here. The Balinese say that in order for a bule, a foreigner, to come to Bali, that they must have a karma or a karmic link to Bali. So they deeply believe that anybody who comes to this country has got a reason to come here. For those of us who have been here a while, like myself and like the team of expats, we often say that Bali speeds up your karma. So what that means is, to us, is that, we really find ourselves in very interesting and oftentimes very challenging situations that we have to work through and process. So I think one way or another, Bali touches everybody in some way. You mentioned being conscious or aware. I think it does depend a little bit upon how open you are. I think we're all very good at denying things and ignoring things if we're not ready for those things. So I think, that's something that might be expected. But, generally speaking, what can people expect when they come to Shambala? They can certainly expect, even if they don't have necessarily a spiritual experience, they can certainly expect nature, in its finest glory. They can expect serenity. They can expect peacefulness. And actually, I think that's one of the things that does oftentimes, that space and time that is afforded by those things is often the opportunity that we get to, have a look inside and turn inwardly and internally and have a kind of a reassess of ourselves. And that space and time sometimes also gives us the opportunity for a shift. They're going to perhaps be confronted with themselves, perhaps undergo processes accordingly, or they might just come here and just, think that the place is amazingly physically beautiful, and they might just appreciate that.
Well, it is amazingly physically beautiful, that's for sure. And I feel like what I had, in some sense, was kind of like a reset. What I like so much, and what I'm experiencing here firsthand, is that at a point in time when we have an abundance of everything, and an overabundance of things that require our attention, and an over-reliance on technology, this feels to me to the place that you can come and kind of shut that down. And I don't mean shut it down in any kind of terrible way. I mean, I have internet, access here. But what I'm saying is that it's an opportunity to kind of turn off the technology and to kind of leave the frantic and the hectic behind, and to kind of reset and be with yourself. And I found that. Now, in addition to having that here, in kind of the mountains, or what do you call this here? We have a forest basically,
it's
or
a jungle.
It's a jungle, even better. In addition to that, part of the reset here at Shambala is that the food, and I'm a food guy, is extraordinarily delicious, but it's delicious without being heavy. I don't see a lot of use of things like butter and cream and flour and mayonnaise and these kind of things. It's kind of an elevated, for lack of a better word, spa type of a cuisine. In other words, you can come here, and while you can enjoy a nice piece of pork, I'm having beautiful, multi-grain, delicious, full-flavored meals that are clean and delicious to eat. So the reset is not only kind of a potentially spiritual one, mental one, emotional one, but also the physical aspect as well. Is that what you're going for?
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Yes, we are. I think reset's the perfect word. We use that word often, actually. And it's across all aspects of being as well. So it is, as you mentioned, spiritual, mental, emotional, and those are things that, happen naturally within the environment. But yes, 100%. The food is deliberately, created that way. The menus have been made by our global director, our global chef, in order to do exactly that, to help just clean up. They are primarily focused on taste, but underlying that, they are also incredibly healthful. If you come on a program with us, actually, we wouldn't just focus on only the diet, but we also have an activity plan for every guest.
Good.
You can join in yoga classes, Pilates classes, nature hikes, and so on. You can actually join also educational lectures. Sorry, there's monkeys screaming.
Oh no, I like the monkeys in
the
background. How often do my people hear monkeys in the background? It's the first time.
There's a tribe of monkeys around, and they often come up in the morning. They'll be just below, I think. They come up in the afternoon. So, do you see that beautiful blue kingfisher then? Sorry. Yeah. It just flew right out. So we're focusing on physically. We're focusing on, of course, diet, like you mentioned, clean diet. We're focusing on activities, like I mentioned. We have an all-day schedule running of different things, so guests can drop in and out of classes, or they can have them prescribed by one of our wellness experts. And we do things also. We go off property as well. We do things like we climb the volcano at 3 a.m. We see the sunrise. All sorts of things. We also have spiritual practices as well. So we take guests to temples around Bali. We take them for water purification ceremonies, just like the Balinese do themselves. So we're doing these things very sympathetically and really, with wellness in mind in a complete sense. And the last thing that comes into the plan is our therapy plan. So all guests who come on a program with us are also prescribed different treatments and massages. Thank you for saying you enjoyed the deep tissue.
Ooh. But
of course, we have a whole wealth of different types of treatments that we will individually prescribe for each guest.
I must confess to you that at the moment I'm feeling a little bit of regret, and my regret is simply predicated on the fact that I can't spend more time here. 3 days here is more of a tease than anything.
Yeah.
3 days here, and honestly, this is what my reaction is to 3 days here. I'm going to have to get on another 18-hour flight at some point in my life. You know what I'm saying? Because I was trying to, in trying to help people understand, basically, who have travel options to go anywhere in the world, why you would commit to that level of time to come over here. I got it when I got up here. Like I understand. Like I could spend some more time up here and feel even more reset than I do now.
Yeah.
Yes, that massage I mentioned to Ram the other day. I've been having massages, I suppose, for 40 years. Was easily one of the top massages that I've ever had in my life. I was, and I'm going to tell you. I mean, among friends. It was excruciatingly painful, and yet this is what people don't really understand. It's the kind of pain that you actually invite, because the release of kind of lactic acid, muscle tension is worth the discomfort in having it. So yes, I would love to spend more time, and I like that you mentioned all of the things. It's not only the food, it's not only the atmospherics here, it's not only the sounds and the sights, but as well all the activities that are available for people to have. Extraordinary. Speaking of which, by the way, since we are here in the jungle, I've been reading a lot about, and I heard about it from Skift, this notion of forest bathing. Tell people what forest bathing is, because I feel like I'm in the midst of it here.
Well, that's right. So we actually have our own forest bathing here. We are exceptionally fortunate because we have one of the 8 holy water springs of Bali on the property, which is coming out of the side of the ravine, and it's actually flowing all the way down, and we actually tap into that water source, and it goes into our spring water pools, our natural spring water pools, and people basically do what we call jungle bathing in those pools. That water, we have it tested every 6 months. It's clean as anything. It's purely mineralized. Lots of research tells us that bathing in water up to our neck for 20 minutes or longer has incredible health benefits. So we invite people to go down and take their time down there. We give them a beautiful picnic lunch, and then they do jungle bathing in those pools. Amazing.
Yeah, the whole thing is amazing, and it's great to be here. And let's see, what else do you think that is there something that we should add into this that we might not have covered? I mean, obviously, Shambala is noted for its kind of wellness protocol. We talked about the extraordinary look and feel of the place. The service is great. The grounds are unbelievable. Anything else that we should add in, Sally? I'm leaving it up to you. The final words.
Thank you. Yep. I think the last thing I would talk about is the element of care. So we have a panel of wellness experts here who will take care of those on wellness program from start to finish. They will advise them. They'll, in collaboration, will set a schedule for the guests so that they get the most out of their time here. We sometimes call it an investment in health. So those people, our experts, include an Ayurvedic doctor, Oriental medicine, Pilates, yoga, fitness, really the best from all over the world as well. So those guys are just going to take really amazingly good care of guests here. And apart from that, as you mentioned about the service, we also have a personal assistant service here. So those people are helping us also in that overall sense of care. We have an unbelievably high ratio of staff to guests here, staff to room. We've got a 10-to-1 ratio, which is incredibly high.
Oof, that's a lot of people.
It is. Yes, it is. And I think it really comes through.
And you also have, by the way, I mean, speaking about ratios, you also have an incredibly high return
Yes,
guest
we do.
rate ratio, do you not?
Correct. Yeah. That's right. Guests are basically coming back to us very often, particularly for the wellness programs. They often come back once every 6 months or once every year, as you said, for a reset. And each time they come back, we like to further and deepen their experience. They'll learn more. And each time we'll kind of reset them, and then they'll learn new tools, and those tools they'll take home with them so that they can continue their wellness journey at home.
Sally, does Shambala have a meaning?
Yes, it does. It's actually a Buddhist word originally, it's a sacred place of bliss.
Oh, wow. I can't think of anything more perfect than that. A sacred place of bliss, Shambala. And finally, Sally, where do people? What's the easy way for people to kind of get more information? What is it like a ComoShambala.com? Is it that easy?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, ComoShambala.com is our brand website. If they want to come to Como Hotel here at Como Shambala Estate, you could also just try ComoShambalaEstate.com.
The one thing about the internet is how easy it is to get information these days. Sally Holstead, wellness director, manager, boss of all bosses here at the Como Shambala Estate, which is, remind me again what Shambala stands for?
Sacred place of bliss.
Here at Como Shambala, the sacred place of bliss. Thank you so much, Sally. Really appreciate the time, and I just I can only hope that I get to come back here yet again.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, there you have it, my friends. Bali, just an extraordinary place, actually worth all the time that it took to get there. And if I get the chance to return, I will. And I will plan to spend more time in the mountainous area around Ubud, and I cannot recommend strongly enough the sensational Como Shambala, really unbelievably. That's why Shambala stands for sacred place of bliss. That was what my experience was. And there you have it, episode number 58. All you can eat. Remember, my friends, life is short, so never waste a meal.
I'm the Teflon Pan Man. I'm the Teflon